Hi everybody and welcome to Metal Mech, an exciting new YouTube channel where a professional mechanic shows you how to do everything right first time. But that's not at all what's going to happen here because I'm a complete beginner. I have no idea about mechanics really, but this is my car. My name's Dre, as the number plate suggests, and well, not today, but we're going to start today pulling out this engine. So this is a 1989 Civic Shuttle EE2, and it's got a D15 B2 engine, which is a 1.5 litre single cam, 89 horsepower semi lawnmower engine. No, it's really slow, and we're going to be replacing it not with a K-swap like so many other people are doing, but with a B18 C4. That's from a 99 Civic Aerodeck, which might not mean much to anybody in the States, but in Europe they're quite common. So it's a cheaper engine than the B18 C6 from the Integra Type R. So this is 89 horsepower. We're going to be putting I think the B18 C4 is 174 horsepower, so given the age of this engine, it's probably going to be double the horsepower. So today what we're going to be doing is starting the engine removal of this. We're going to be disconnecting everything. I don't think we'll actually pull the engine out today because time, but yeah, we'll be disconnecting stuff and disconnecting hopefully everything except the engine mounts. And then we'll be in a position to pull this out in the next episode. So I'm a complete beginner. I've never done anything like this before, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube channels where people have done it many times before. So I thought, okay, I'll put together a video series of doing this without having any idea what you're doing apart from reading forum posts and watching other people do it on YouTube. So yeah, join me in this automotive journey, I guess it is. Well, mechanical journey, something along those lines. So yeah, let's get into it. So what I've done now is just gone through and disconnected everything between the chassis and the car, at least from the top here where I can reach. So that's vacuum lines and radiator hoses, fuel lines, obviously all the electrical connectors. And like earth connectors and stuff. I'm gonna remove the headers, and from what I've seen of other people doing this, I should be able to leave the intake on and the gearbox on, remove all the engine mounts, and then the engine should lift up. So that's my plan. I've removed everything I can get to from the top of the car now, and I've just jacked it up. I have broken these bolts, nuts off. These are called, somebody in the comments will tell me what those are called. They attach onto the end of the drive shaft, so they hold the drive shaft in the hub. Break them loose before you jack up the car. They got a little notch on them that you gotta knock out with a screwdriver and a hammer. That keeps them on, and then break them off with a breaker bar. That's a 32mm socket, and then I've obviously loosened the lug nuts and then jacked up the car. We've got our axle stands, because you should always have those when you work on a car. And now I'm gonna remove the wheels, remove the drive shafts, remove the shift linkage, and then there's a couple of electrical connectors at the bottom that I can't get to from the top. Once those are off, and remove the headers from the exhaust, so I'll probably take apart the headers from the rest of the exhaust, and then that should somehow come out. And with that done, I should be able to lift the engine out. Alright, now when you get this off, that's the caster nut. You can kind of see it's actually broken off the metal where it has been in that little notch there. And then now I'm going to remove the steering rack arm. There's a little metal, what do you call those? Little metal pin that you have to get out from that bolt. Undo that, and then I think you have to pop that up with a tool, or you can use a hammer or something. So once that's out, we should be able to move the hub out of the way and pull out the drive shaft. Yeah, well, I told you I'll be learning as I'm doing this. So remove the steering arm, pull that allows me to pull the hub out like that, and then down here we're now going to remove this. It's called a cotter pin, I think. These pins, they're called cotter pins. So I'll get that out and then release the bottom of the hub, and then the hub should pull out and away from the car like that. And that will allow us to pull out the drive shaft. Alright, so cotter pin and nut removed. Give you a look of how that looks. We've got to pop this out now. It's a ball joint. You can take a hammer to that. Try to change the focus here. You can take a hammer to that. If you take a hammer to it, take a nut and put a nut over the end of it, so you don't mess up your thread. I think I read that somewhere. Or consult an expert, because what I'm going to use is one of these, which you put that on and then you tighten that, and it will basically pop the ball joint out of socket. Alright, well, that kind of went to plan. The ball joint was really easy to pop, probably because I've done this a few years ago. Excuse the heavy breathing. Yeah, so, and then the drive shaft just pulls out. I actually took a little pry bar there and used that to pry out the inside part of the drive shaft from the gearbox. This is a D series, so the drive shafts are different lengths. This is the long one, which is the difficult one, I guess. Not that they're particularly difficult. Doesn't seem to fit through this hole, which is interesting. So I may just have to cut that rubber boot open to get it out. I'll give it a couple more tries, but it looks like it doesn't want to fit through there, which is a bit of a strange design. I thought it would just go straight through, but yeah, once I've done this, I just got to do the other side as well. Alright, well, that's the drive shaft out. I just took a scalpel and cut the rubber off. I'd already disconnected the two parts of the CV joint, the inner joint. So, yep, now I'll do the other side. Okay, so Both drive shafts are out. I ended up doing the same on the short side, just cutting through the rubber boot. That's the inner parts of the drive shafts. These are held in place. If you're having any trouble getting these out, just to show you how it works, this is the part that goes into the gearbox. It's got like a C-clip on it, and yeah, I've never had any problems getting these out. I take a pry bar and I basically pry there and then pull it out, straight out from the gearbox. Never had a problem. Or transmission for the American viewers, because I don't think they say gearbox as in a box full of gears. They say transmission, like a radio transmission. No, I don't know what kind of transmission that is. Anyway, here's the old shift linkage. Runs back there to the shifter in the car. I don't really know how to do this because I haven't looked it up, nor have I done it before, but I know somewhere in here there's a bitch pin. One of these. Right, well, we're back. I accidentally locked the screen on this thing. Don't film with a phone, get a proper camera. That might be the bitch pin, I think. Or maybe it's there. There's a little hole there. Anyway, I'll get started here, just disconnecting these. And I'm sure I'll soon figure out which one the bitch pin is. And, yeah, exhaust here. I'm just going to loosen these. And hopefully the whole exhaust header will come down. I hope it comes out as one piece. Those fasteners there, they look very seized, so if I can avoid touching those, I will. Anyway, yeah, shift linkage, let's go. Okay, so I got the bitch pin out, and it looks like that. It's hollow, and yeah, looks in good condition. I used that's a metric 8 spare bolt that I had, so I put that up against the pin, so they were touching like that, and then I used my little friend, this guy, and a couple of taps, and it came out. So a bitch pin is not really a bitch, at least not in this case. I mean, this took 20 seconds once I figured it out. So don't be afraid of the bitch pin, it's fine. It won't stop you. Yeah, let's have a look underneath. Yeah, so this linkage part came out. That was just a bolt, and the receiving nut there is welded in, so you only need to turn on this side. That was a 12, I think. Yeah. And then that was where the bitch pin was. As you can see, this bolt fits straight through that hole. So yeah, just bang that in. Just bang that in, and that will push the bitch pin straight up and out. No problem at all. And this should now just pull back. That's the shift linkage done. And then we just do the exhaust. And then there's a couple of electrical connectors down here, the alternator and maybe something else. But then the engine should, and gearbox, or transmission, should be free from the car and only being held in by the engine mounts. So that's exciting. Right, so wasn't recording for a while, but I got the exhaust headers off, which almost ended in disaster. There are two 14mm bolts holding the headers onto the block. I rounded the first one off and just about got the second one off. So yeah, be careful. Make sure you use what are they called? 6-sided spanners. Get yourself a set of these that have 6 sides instead of the 12-sided ones. Don't use these. I kind of goes without saying. Same for your sockets. Get yourself a good set of sockets and a good breaker bar, because getting the right amount of torque on a bolt can mean the difference. The impact gun, I don't know, I've got a Ryobi and it's okay, but maybe not strong enough for what I'm asking of it. But same here with the sockets, it's a 6-sided socket and just a nice long breaker bar. You're going to need sockets and breaker bars for the rest of your mechanic career, so get a good set. I mean, these are just from a Swedish auto shop, like, I don't know, whatever you have in the US, whatever you have, like Halfords in Britain. But I buy the best stuff that they have, and it's good enough for this. So exhaust headers are off, shift linkage is off. I think I disconnected the rest of the electrical connectors, which means the car should now be, the engine and gearbox should be disconnected from the chassis. So we can have a little walk around. So that's the exhaust headers gone. So we have an engine mount there, that's the driver's side engine mount, and then the front engine mount, and the passenger side engine mount. This is the this is the cabling that went under the intake, and it's attached with several clips and holders. Some of them are plastic and I just cut those off. Some of them are metal and they just unclip. I did cut 3 wires here because I could not figure out how to get. There are some connectors down there. You can see where I cut the wires. There are some connectors down there, and I could not figure out how to disconnect those. There's like a rubber boot on it. I tried to get the rubber boot off with a pry bar and that didn't work. But yeah, everything should now be disconnected. There's obviously like some vacuum lines and things at the back here that I disconnected before we even started filming. So yeah, I believe that's it. Can probably now lower the car back to the ground. I don't think I'll have room here to, unless I move everything out of the way, I don't think I'll have room to lift the engine out with the hoist, so I'll probably have to put the wheels back on the car and just wheel it backwards through the main door. So to do that, I've put the I put the hubs back on. I put the steering steering arms back on. So yeah, cool. Should now be able to give this engine a little lift. And just put that back in. Don't forget to remove that to get your headers off. Okay, well I got kind of into the swing of things and just removed the intake. So yeah, now you can see how small this engine really is. It's going to be a bit bigger with the double overhead cam in there. So yeah, intake here. I did get fed up, as I'm not keeping any of this. I did cut a couple of the hoses for the just between the engine and the intake, because they are not being kept. But you can see here there was one nut at the bottom. I guess you can kind of see the stud there, and then you got studs just on the top. There's one in the lower corner there, and the same in the lower corner over here. So that's the intake gone, and it's now, if you look from above, there's the gearbox there, so we can remove that engine mount and hopefully just swing the gearbox around a little bit, fit through this space here, and yeah, should be no problem at all getting this engine out now. So yeah, put the car back on the ground, get the engine hoist out, and see how it goes.